Welcome to today's deep dive. We've got a really fascinating mission for you today
Yeah, we really do.
because we are unpacking exactly how a brand gets their product onto, the most coveted retail shelves in the entire world.
The Apple Store.
Exactly, the Apple Store. And to do this, we are working from a step-by-step industry guide provided by Retailbound.
Right, specifically authored by their president, Johann Jacob.
Yeah, and Retailbound is this retail consultancy that's been doing this since 2008. I mean, they've helped brands scale across more than 150 different retailers.
Which is a massive track record.
It is. So today, we are using their playbook to basically deconstruct Apple's notoriously rigorous vetting process.
It's an incredibly revealing look behind the curtain. We're going to break down the mechanics of retail leverage, how aesthetic presentation actually influences buying decisions
And the intense financial realities of partnering with a trillion-dollar company.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
The financial side is wild.
And what's great is that even if you aren't trying to sell like a consumer electronics gadget, the lessons in this guide are universal.
For sure. It's about how to position yourself for a high-stakes pitch, right? How to prove your value.
Yeah, and how to survive the negotiation. Okay, let's unpack this.
Okay.
Because to really understand this process, you have to think about the Apple Store not just as a shop.
Right.
You have to think of it as the most exclusive, heavily guarded VIP club in the tech world.
That is the perfect way to visualize it.
Right. Because you're standing on the sidewalk, the lighting inside is perfect, everyone looks incredibly cool, but there's a thick velvet rope.
And you can't just walk up and demand entry.
No, you can't. And you certainly can't bribe your way in. The bouncer isn't just looking at your wallet. They are, scrutinizing your shoes, your posture.
Whether you fundamentally match the aesthetic of the people who are already inside.
Exactly.
Because getting past that velvet rope, getting your product placed on one of those minimalist wooden tables is an absolute game changer for brands.
Oh, totally.
We are talking about instant global validation. When a consumer walks into an Apple Store, there is an implicit trust applied to every single item on those shelves.
Because Apple has spent, decades and billions of dollars cultivating that reputation?
Right, a reputation for premium quality. So when your wireless charger or your smart home device is sitting in that environment, you immediately inherit that reputation.
It's the ultimate cosign.
It really is. And the Retailbound guide points out that this kind of placement drives massive direct revenue growth, obviously. But the secondary effect is arguably even more valuable.
Because it opens other doors.
Exactly. It enhances your credibility with every other major retailer on the planet. Once Apple says yes, the buyers at Target, Best Buy, and specialized electronics retailers suddenly
Start returning your emails.
Exactly. You're a proven entity.
But getting that initial yes from the bouncer is brutally hard.
Yeah.
So let's talk about what that bouncer is actually looking for at the door. I mean, why is Apple so famously uncompromising?
It comes down to fiercely protecting their ecosystem. They are not evaluating your gadget in a vacuum.
Right.
They are evaluating its holistic impact on their brand. So the guide outlines a few non-negotiable baseline criteria. First, they demand meaningful innovation.
Which means what exactly?
It means they aren't looking for another generic Bluetooth speaker in a crowded market. Your product must solve a real problem or noticeably elevate the user's daily experience.
Which makes sense. I mean, they don't have infinite shelf space.
Right, so everything has to earn its keep. The second criterion is premium design and build quality. Apple is synonymous with a clean, minimalist, highly refined aesthetic.
Yeah, that classic Apple look.
Exactly. So any third-party product they carry has to feel like it belongs in that same design language.
But they don't just look at the surface, right?
No, not at all. The third, and perhaps most ruthless, criterion is flawless functionality.
Now, how do they actually verify that? Because it's easy for a brand to walk in and say, oh, our tech is flawless.
Sure, everyone says that.
But how does a massive retail buyer actually check that before committing? Do they have a team of engineers testing every third-party gadget in a lab?
Well, they do rely on rigorous internal testing, absolutely, but they also look heavily at your existing data.
Oh, really?
Yeah. They are going to examine your historical return rates on platforms where you already sell. If your direct-to-consumer site or your Amazon storefront shows like a 5% defect rate, you're dead in the water.
Wow, so they are auditing your past performance?
Oh, heavily. They also look for specific technical integrations and certifications like the MFI Made for iPhone
All
program.
right, you have to have the official stamp.
Because they need absolute proof of reliability. In the mind of an Apple customer, if a third-party accessory fails, it tarnishes the whole Apple experience.
Okay, I hear all of that, the innovation, the design, the functionality. But I have to push back on this idea of the standalone revolutionary product.
Okay, go for it.
Let's say I invent something truly groundbreaking. The design is beautiful, the defect rate is 0, but it has absolutely nothing to do with your core lineup. Do they even care? Is having a standalone revolutionary product really enough? Or is this actually just an audition to be a plus one to Apple's existing products?
What's fascinating here is that you've hit on the exact trap so many brilliant engineers fall into.
Oh, really?
Yes, and the Retailbound guide explicitly warns against it. You can have a perfect product, but if it doesn't offer ecosystem compatibility, you aren't getting in.
So it's not enough to just be great on your own.
Right. Products that explicitly complement the iPhone, iPad, Mac, or Apple Watch have a significantly higher chance of success. It's not just about being great, it's about making Apple's ecosystem look better.
So it's not actually about being the star of the show, it's about being the ultimate plus one.
Exactly. Think about it from their financial perspective. Apple wants to sell more of their own high-margin hardware.
Right, they want to sell more iPhones.
Exactly. So if your accessory utilizes the MagSafe standard brilliantly, or if your health tracker integrates seamlessly with Apple Health, you are making the iPhone more useful.
More stylish, more indispensable.
Yes, you are solving a retention problem for Apple, not just a hardware problem for the consumer.
That is a massive mindset shift for anyone pitching an idea.
It really is.
And for you listening right now, think about how this applies to your own projects. When you pitch a new project or a proposal to your boss, are you building something in isolation?
Right, trying to prove how brilliant your specific idea is on its own.
Exactly. Or are you actively demonstrating how your work enhances the larger ecosystem you operate in? Because if you can prove that your success makes the overall team look better, your chances of getting a yes go up exponentially.
It's a critical distinction. You have to shift the narrative from, look at how great my product is, to look at how much stronger we are together.
Yeah, that alignment is everything.
And what's fascinating is how Apple expects that harmony to translate into the physical presentation of the product, which brings us to the packaging.
Okay, let's dive into that. Because according to the guide, a great piece of technology in a bad cardboard box is basically a dead end.
Completely.
If you want to sit at Apple's table, you have to dress the part.
You do. The standards for packaging are almost as intense as the standards for the microchips inside. In retail, the packaging has to function as your best, most articulate salesperson.
Right, because nobody is there to explain it to the customer.
Exactly. It has to be minimalist, it has to feel premium, and it has to clearly communicate the core benefits without being loud or, visually cluttered.
Johann Jacob dropped some very specific pro tips in this section that I found really fascinating.
Yep.
He recommends using matte finishes over glossy ones, high-quality, heavy cardstock, and incorporating subtle embossing.
Yes.
Now, why does a multi-trillion-dollar tech giant care about subtle embossing on a cardboard box?
It's entirely about the psychology of perceived value. Think about the last time you were in a big box store. A glossy, thin cardboard box with bright, loud text.
It screams discount bin?
Exactly. It reflects light harshly and feels cheap to the touch. A matte finish, on the other hand, absorbs light. It looks understated and confident.
And the subtle embossing, it engages the sense of touch before the customer even gets to the product inside.
You hit the nail on the head. You are triggering a psychological response that says, this is a premium, carefully crafted object that justifies its price tag.
Wow.
Apple understands that the unboxing experience is the first functional interaction the customer has with the product. If the unboxing feels cheap, the customer's baseline perception of the technology drops before they even turn it on.
It reminds me of the nuances of body language in a high-stakes job interview.
Oh, that's a good comparison.
Right. The actual tech inside the box is your resume. It's your education, your skills, your background. But the subtle embossing, the matte finish, that's your firm handshake. It's the confident eye contact. You could have the best resume in the world, but if you walk into the interview slouching and staring at the floor, you aren't getting the job.
That is so true. The packaging is the nonverbal communication of the retail world.
Exactly.
And that analogy holds up perfectly when you look at how the guide describes the actual pitch meeting. Because dressing well and having a firm handshake isn't enough if nobody can vouch for you.
Right. They need to see the substance behind it.
When a brand finally gets in front of Apple's buying team, you have to bring a best-in-class product deck featuring high-res images, concise demo videos, clear use cases.
And how are they defining best in class here? Because I imagine these buyers have seen every flashy marketing gimmick under the sun.
They absolutely have, which is why they have zero tolerance for fluff. Apple decision makers want concise, data-driven insights over flashy, empty marketing.
So they don't want a lifestyle video of people smiling on a beach holding the product.
No, not at all. They want metrics and proof points. They want to see your customer acquisition costs. They want to see the exact conversion rates on your website. They want empirical proof of the concrete problem your product solves. Everything must answer the question, why does this belong in Apple stores?
The cloud check.
Exactly, the clout check. Apple doesn't just want a good pitch, they want proof that people already care about your brand.
The guide breaks this down into establishing digital authority and demonstrating sales traction. But frankly, I struggled to understand the connection at first.
How so?
Well, why does a brick-and-mortar retail buyer at Apple care about a brand's website SEO or their Shopify reviews?
Because digital authority fundamentally removes the buyer's risk.
Okay, explain that.
Before Apple gives you precious physical shelf space, they're going to audit your digital footprint. They look at your professional, high-converting website, your strong SEO. If people are actively searching for solutions to a problem and your website organically ranks at the top of Google, that tells the buyer that there is unprompted organic consumer demand.
Ah, so they are using search volume and search rankings as a proxy for market demand.
Exactly. It's free market research for them. They're also heavily evaluating your reviews on platforms like Amazon or your Shopify site.
To see what actual people are saying.
Right. If you have 5,000 legitimate glowing reviews, you are no longer a gamble. You are a proven entity. The guide emphasizes that repeat customers and positive social proof are mandatory to validate your retail potential.
So what does this all mean? Does this mean Apple acts less like a traditional retailer taking a chance on a cool new gadget and more like a late-stage investor who only bets on a sure thing?
If we connect this to the bigger picture, yes, absolutely. Apple prefers products with proven demand. They aren't there to build your brand from scratch. They're there to amplify what you've already proven works, creating a mutually beneficial halo effect.
Okay, so you need the product, the packaging, the data, and the digital clout.
It's a tall order.
It is. But let's assume a brand manages to align all of these stars. You design the beautiful matte finish box, your SEO is off the charts, and you nail the VC-style data pitch, highlighting your unique selling proposition.
And you align perfectly with their vision of innovation and simplicity.
Right. And the bouncer finally unhooks the velvet rope. You get a yes from Apple.
That is a massive achievement.
It is. You'd want to pop champagne.
Oh, for sure. But this celebration is usually very short-lived.
Right, because then reality sets in. The paperwork, the guide, details the actual negotiation process, and this is where it gets incredibly intense.
It does.
Getting the yes is just the beginning of a very tough business reality.
Because the most critical piece of leverage Apple holds in these negotiations is their payment structure. They operate on consignment terms.
Here's where it gets really interesting. Let's really break down the mechanics of consignment, because this completely shifts the power dynamic.
It shifts everything.
In a traditional wholesale model, a retailer buys, say, 10,000 units from you up front. They put them in their warehouse, and you get a check.
Right, you get paid right away.
But under a consignment model, the brand only gets paid after the product actually sells to a customer in the store.
That's right. The brand has to float all the upfront costs.
So as the brand, I have to manufacture 50,000 units, pay for the premium packaging, pay to ship them to Apple's distribution centers globally, and then my product just sits on their shelf.
Just waiting.
I might wait 60 to 90 days for actual human beings to walk in and buy them before I see a single dime of revenue.
Yes, and think about the immense cash flow pressure that puts on a hardware startup. You have hundreds of thousands, maybe millions of dollars tied up in inventory that is sitting in someone else's store.
And if it doesn't sell?
If it doesn't sell, Apple doesn't take the loss. They just pack it up and ship it back to you. The financial risk is almost entirely shifted back onto the product creator.
That is wild.
It is. Brands often have to secure aggressive inventory financing or lines of credit just to survive the cash flow crunch of being an Apple partner.
And you're dealing with that cash flow crunch while simultaneously battling over margins. which is a key negotiation battleground.
Oh, the margins are where Apple really holds the leverage.
Right. So you are taking all the manufacturing and inventory risk, and you are giving up a massive percentage of the final sale price for the privilege of being in their space.
It's a very tight squeeze. And the negotiations don't stop at margins. You have to negotiate distribution requirements, which means handling global rollouts, which can be a logistical nightmare for a small supply chain.
I can't even imagine.
And you also have to fight for clarity on marketing support. Like, are you actually going to get a prime spot in store on that wooden table? Or are you going to be buried on page 4 of their online accessory shop?
It really reframes the whole accomplishment. The guide makes it clear that sustaining success post-launch is a massive undertaking. Getting on the shelf isn't the finish line, it's the starting gun for a relentless marathon.
This raises an important question about ongoing operational pressure. Because once you are in, Apple expects you to continuously innovate.
Right, you can't just drop your product off and chill.
No, you cannot rest on your laurels. They expect regular software updates, line extensions, and product refreshes to keep your brand and, by extension, their store relevant.
And then there's the customer support aspect, which sounds brutal.
It is a major friction point. Getting into the store puts immense pressure on a brand's customer support because Apple customers expect perfection.
Right. If someone buys your third-party smart plug at an Apple store and they can't get it to connect to their Wi-Fi, they don't go to your website first.
Nope. They march right back into the Apple store to the Genius Bar.
And Apple does not want their Genius Bar technicians spending 45 minutes troubleshooting your accessory.
Precisely. Any post-purchase issue reflects directly on Apple's brand equity. So you, as the partner, have to maintain proactive relationships with account managers and provide exceptional, instantaneous customer support.
To intercept those issues before they become an Apple problem.
Exactly. If your support team is slow and it starts causing friction in Apple's retail ecosystem, they will pull you off the shelf to protect themselves.
But despite all of this, the margins, the brutal consignment risk, the relentless need to innovate, the payoff is still undeniably massive, right?
Oh, absolutely. The Retailbound guide highlights success stories like Nomad Goods and 12 South.
Right, brands that nailed this exact playbook.
They did. They focused intensely on premium design. They aligned perfectly with the Apple ecosystem, and they were prepared for the financial realities. As a result, they experienced massive brand growth and unmatched exposure.
So to bring this all together for you listening, gaining access to the top tier of any industry requires a very specific strategic blueprint. Whether you are literally trying to get a gadget into an Apple store or pitching a major proposal to a boss, the Retailbound blueprint is universal.
It really is.
You have to prove your ecosystem value. You have to sweat the microscopic details of your presentation right down to the proverbial matte finish on the box.
And you must have the data-driven proof and perfect aesthetic alignment to back up your pitch. You have to demonstrate that you have the traction to survive brutal negotiation terms.
The bouncer at the door doesn't care about your potential. They only care about your proof.
Exactly.
But as we wrap up this deep dive, looking at all these mechanics, there is a fascinating tension hidden beneath this entire process based on the source material's mention of Apple's leverage.
There really is. It leaves us with an important final thought to ponder. Think about everything we just covered. The consignment terms, where the brand takes the risk and only gets paid after Apple sells their product.
Right.
The heavy margins they give up for the privilege, and the relentless requirement to constantly refresh their line to stay relevant.
At what point does a successful independent brand effectively just become an unpaid R&D and manufacturing department for Apple's own ecosystem?
It's a compelling question. You fight so hard to prove your worth, only to realize that the rules of the club are designed to ensure the house always wins.
You get past the bouncer, you're in the VIP section, and suddenly you realize you're the one paying for the drinks, providing the entertainment, and sweeping the floors when the lights come on. It's definitely something to mull over the next time you admire that perfectly embossed matte finish box sitting on an Apple Store table. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.